Good evening, everyone. My name is Luke, aka Mr. Rage, and welcome back to another one of my discussion videos. And yes, we are finally talking about another gaming-related topic in my discussion videos. And the reason why I say that is because I have been talking about some more serious topics in my discussion videos. So, for those of you who missed the gaming-related topics in my discussion videos, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. So, in today's discussion video, we are going to be talking about something that I have actually wanted to talk about for a while here on my channel, and that is digital video game ownership. And we've got a bit to unpack here, so stay tuned. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the topic of today's discussion video. Now, I think I speak for most people when I say that your guys' preferred way of buying your video games is probably digital gaming. You know, because of how convenient and simple it is. You know, you turn on your Xbox, your PlayStation, or your PC, you go on the Steam store, or the Xbox store, or the Nintendo eShop if you're on Switch, and, you know, you just put in your credit card details, you know, you buy your desired game, you download it, and just like that, you're playing your game. There's no going to a store. There's no leaving your house. There's no ordering something on Amazon and waiting a couple days for it to ship. And, you know, honestly, it's not just with gaming anymore. People don't even like to leave their homes anymore. These days, everyone just likes to go on the internet, type in their credit card details, and order their shit, and that's about it. You know, no one even goes out anymore. It's no wonder that all my favorite malls around Michigan are all shutting down because no one even goes outside anymore. No one even goes to these little stores anymore because either people are too lazy or going online is just too convenient for them to want to go outside and actually go to the store and buy their shit anymore. It's crazy because people do it with literally everything. People do it with their clothes. They do it with their food. I mean, people don't even like to go to the grocery store anymore these days. I mean, it's crazy. People do not like going outside anymore, and I just don't understand it. Like, I understand that going online and doing all your little online shopping, you know, you put in your little credit card, you order your stuff, and it gets right to your house. You don't even got to leave your chair, and you just get to sit there all day. I get it, like, it's convenient, but don't you guys like to actually go out? Don't you guys actually like to get out of the house every once in a while? Like, I don't get it. But anyways, I'm getting a little further ahead of what the topic of today's video is because that's not what we're talking about. I'm getting off topic here. What I'm saying is digital gaming is only popular because of how convenient it is for people. And, you know, honestly, like, I get it. For the most part, even I have switched to a pretty much all digital gaming lifestyle, but that's only because I don't really have a car, first of all, and second of all, a lot of video game companies are not even releasing their games in physical form anymore. Looking at you, Remedy, with Alan Wake 2 not getting a fucking physical release. That actually high-key pissed me off. Like, I'm not trying to sound like a raging drama queen. I mean, I am a raging drama queen on this channel for the most part, but when it came to Alan Wake 2, I was pissed when I heard that there was not going to be a physical copy of Alan Wake 2. That shit had me pissed off. Like, that shit had me steaming. Seriously, like, that shit had me pissed off. Like, I was actually really pissed off about that. Because, you see, the thing is I still love physical media. I'm not sure if I already showed you guys this, but this is my old copy of Dead Rising for the 360 and Left 4 Dead. Two of the greatest zombie games ever made from one of the greatest video game consoles ever made from one of the very best generation of video games in general, which is, of course, the Xbox 360 generation, because we all know that the Xbox 360 was the best generation for video games, like, ever. So I remember exactly when I bought these two copies. I will never forget it. So I still love physical media. And the thing is I know that this might sound a bit biased coming from someone who just admitted that they love physical media, but digital gaming kind of sucks. And you see, look, I understand how that's going to sound for a lot of people, but hear me out. We do not own any of our shit. And I'm sure that this is no surprise for a lot of people, but doesn't that make you a bit worried about your digital libraries that you don't even own? I mean, you don't even own your digital library. Like, all the games that you have in your digital library, whether it's on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, or just wherever, it's not even really your library. They're not even really your games. You don't own anything. We are, all of us, we are essentially spending money on things that we don't even really own. It's ridiculous. Like, this is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard, because usually when you spend your money on something, usually you have a good amount of ownership and confidence of your ownership over whatever you are spending your money on. I am not confident in the fact that I own my digital games, because I don't. I don't own my games, and neither do you, and neither does anyone else who buys video games digitally. You don't own anything. Listen, let me tell you something. Let me make a little example here out of what I'm trying to say, okay? Okay, so when you buy a digital game, you are not really buying a game. Let's look at it like this. Instead of actually buying the game, what you are actually buying is a little digital key. And this digital key is stored in your account, whether it's a Steam account, PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo. And what this digital key is used to unlock is basically the chest to the game that you think you brought, even though you didn't actually buy it. All you bought was the key that is used to unlock the chest that your game is in. And that digital key is not even really your key. It's not yours to keep. And it is only yours for as long as the companies decide for how long you should have it. Because I'm not saying that you're going to lose like all of your digital games like that. That would be ridiculous. But there are instances where digital games have been removed for various reasons. One of those reasons, like one of the most, I guess one of the most common reasons is like things that involve like copyright, because I guess some of the distributors for some games sometimes lose the rights for the games that they distribute, and they have copyright problems and licensing problems. And if the license is not renewed, then that can sometimes lead to the game being removed from the digital marketplace. So Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Nintendo, like, you know, it's pretty much all of the digital marketplace that people use, you know, Steam, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, etc., etc., etc. So that's one of the more common reasons why a digital game would be removed. And this is my first major problem with digital gaming. Game preservation is simply not a thing with digital gaming, because we have seen time after time again in both the past and even now in the modern era that digital games do sometimes get removed, sometimes more often than not. And that's my first major gripe with digital gaming, because I really care about game preservation. Like, I feel like every video game should always be available to everyone, even if the distributors or the company that makes them has some kind of stupid, dumbass licensing problem. Like, that shouldn't affect anything. And I love video games, so obviously I don't ever want good games to be lost forever. And yeah, sure, people could say, well, of course, you still have your physical copy, so even if a digital game gets removed, at least still have physical copies. Well, that leads to another problem, and that's rarity. When a game gets removed digitally, usually it's because of, like I said earlier, a licensing problem or a copyright problem or something like that. When a company or the distributor has a problem with the licensing and they can't renew that license, not only does the digital game get removed from digital stores, but any physical copy of that game will also become super rare and super expensive. So even if a digital game gets removed from a digital store, that doesn't mean that the physical copies will be easier to get. As a matter of fact, it'll be even harder because the game is now super rare because of the licensing problem that the company had. I mean, Friday the 13th, the game, which is one of my favorite games of all time, actually. Friday the 13th is a perfect example. The developers of Friday the 13th lost the rights to Friday the 13th, which is why the game was removed from digital stores. The same goes for every other digital game that gets removed from digital stores. It's all because the companies that distribute these games lose the licensing. It's all because of licensing agreements, which just also proves that these big companies, like all these big companies, they're the ones who are in control, not us. We buy these games with our money and we have little to no control over what happens to them, even though we spend our money on them. They decide what happens, because if the company has some kind of copyright problem or a licensing problem, and if they decide not to renew it, or if the other company decides that they don't want to renew it with the other company, then the game just gets removed from digital stores. And they could give a fuck if you bought the game or not. Like, they could give a fuck. The game is still going to get removed from digital stores. Now, thankfully, you still do get to keep the game, right? It's still inside of your digital library, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about your digital library in a minute, as well as your account in a minute, because that's something that's also at risk. But it's not just about that. It's also about the fact that a game being removed from digital stores, it's bad even if you already own the game in general, because it defeats the purpose of video game preservation. We can't preserve our video games if they are being removed from digital stores, and then if it's even harder to actually buy the game physically. And it's all because of the companies that make and distribute these games. Licensing problems, copyright problems, and a plethora of other issues. These are the reasons, most of the reasons anyways, why video games get removed from digital stores. And that is my first major gripe with digital games. But back to what I was saying about Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is no longer on digital stores. It's not on PlayStation, it's not on Xbox, it's not on PC anymore. Now, if you want a physical copy of Friday the 13th, if you don't already own Friday the 13th, it's going to cost you a lot of money to get a physical copy. Another good example is actually the old Activision Marvel games. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, Deadpool the video game, X-Men Origins Wolverine. All these Activision games, like all these Marvel Activision games, they are no longer available on digital marketplaces due to the fact that Activision lost the rights to them, and Activision didn't want to renew them, and neither did Marvel. And that's why these Activision Marvel games are no longer available digitally. That's why they've been removed from digital stores. And that's actually sad, because Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, those were some fine-ass Marvel games, and you can no longer play them because they are no longer available digitally. And for those who actually had those games already digitally, I'm not even sure if you could actually transfer them over on your Xbox Series X or your PS5. I believe that for a short time, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 were available on the PS4 marketplace, but they're not anymore. And the same goes for Deadpool the video game, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, and all the other Activision-made Marvel games. And again, it just proves my point. Digital gaming goes against video game preservations because we are not in control, they're in control. The big fucking corporate companies that control literally everything around us, they are also in control of our games. I know people are going to say, well, Mr. Rage, I already bought some of these games, so if they get removed, I'll still own them. We'll talk about that in a second, but first of all, even if you still own these games, it doesn't matter, because these games are literally being removed from digital marketplaces, which makes them less accessible. And that's the big problem at hand. That's my point I'm trying to make. It's all about the accessibility. Video games should never be removed from digital stores, because if a video game is removed from digital stores, all that means is that they are now harder to access. And that's pretty much what video game preservation is. It's keeping video games, all video games, accessible for everyone who wants to play them or purchase them. And it's even worse when it comes to older games. You see, this is why I want to give a couple of props to Xbox. I know that all of us hate Xbox these days. Xbox is trash. Xbox has gone multi-platform, blah, blah, blah. But one thing I will say about Xbox is Phil Spencer and Xbox are the gods of video game preservation. Besides Steam and PC, Xbox is the only place where you will never have to worry about losing access to your older games. Left 4 Dead is actually another example. Left 4 Dead 2 has also been removed from the Xbox store. I just remembered that, actually. But hey, at least it's still backwards compatible. At least you can still go out and buy a physical copy of Left 4 Dead, and you can still play it on your Xbox, because the Xbox has full-on backwards compatibility with every Xbox 360 game. So Microsoft are doing a great job with video game preservation, because on Xbox, you've got old Xbox 360 games, some older than me, that are still fully available and fully purchasable on the Xbox store. I don't know why Left 4 Dead was removed. Valve fucking sucks. Like, Valve, if y'all are watching this, fuck y'all. Because this game, like, you removing this game from the Xbox store, big fuck you from me for that. Because that was really stupid. Like, of course, Steam players still get it, but the fucking Xbox players get pretty much fucked at the end. But yeah, anyways, this is my problem with digital gaming. Because I don't like the idea of any video game being removed from digital stores, because it makes me feel like we don't own anything. Even if we still get to keep those games in our digital libraries, it doesn't matter. And not only that, but that's only most of the time. I am more than sure that there have been some cases of video games being removed from digital stores and people's digital libraries. I believe Silent Hill, right? PT Silent Hill's demo, one of the greatest horror experiences in gaming. PT Silent Hills was removed from everybody's digital library. Now, you could argue that that was a free demo, right? It was free, but it doesn't matter, because if they can do it with a free demo, then they can definitely do it with paid for games as well. Like, if they could remove a game from your digital library, even if it was a free demo, they can do the exact same thing with video games that you paid for. And just having that thought in the back of my mind, it really makes me nervous. It really does, because it just proves to you that if these big companies want to, they could remove any of your digital games if they so desire. If they so desire, or if they simply have to because of, like I said earlier, copyright and licensing problems. If they want to remove a digital game from your digital library, they could, and they will. And not only that, but I'm getting off topic again, but this is something that happens with digital movies, not digital games, digital movies. But do you guys know that on Amazon, any movie that you buy on Amazon can actually be removed from your digital library if the distributor of that movie doesn't want it on Amazon anymore? Because Amazon is just the digital marketplace where these movies are put on, right? Like, for example, let's say you buy a Disney movie on Amazon. So obviously Disney are the creators of this movie, and they are allowing it to be sold through Amazon's digital marketplace. If Disney decides that they no longer want one of their movies being sold on the Amazon marketplace, not only will they remove that movie from Amazon's digital marketplace, but they will also remove it from any digital libraries that are Amazon. So if you have a digital movie library on Amazon Prime Video, if a company like Disney decides that they no longer want their movies on Amazon's marketplace or in your digital library, they will remove it. And for those of you who think I'm lying or think I'm talking out of my ass, it's happened before. Look it up. It's happened before. And this can literally happen with any other digital distributors. And this is not even because of copyright or licensing. This is just the company not wanting their movies or music, or maybe even games, who knows, maybe even games, they don't want their digital content being sold or distributed on certain marketplaces like Microsoft or Amazon, I guess now. I guess Amazon is one of them now too, I guess. But this could definitely happen with games. If Amazon can do this and if Disney can do this, then they could definitely do it with games too. Like, for example, like if a video game company like Activision doesn't want some of their games sold on an Xbox or a PlayStation anymore, then they'll probably remove it because they could. These companies, they have the full right to remove any of your digital content, not only from your library, but from the whole digital marketplace in general. They have the full right to do that. And that's the problem with digital content and digital media. It's the fact that these big companies, they control everything. And back to the whole Amazon thing, it doesn't even matter if you purchased those movies. Like, if you purchased a Disney movie on Amazon Prime Video, Disney's not going to give a shit. They will still remove the movie from both Amazon's marketplace and your digital library. And in Disney's mind, you can just buy it again on one of Disney's sites. You can buy it again on one of Disney's marketplaces. And that's most of the reasons why they even do it in the first place, because they want to sell their content through one of their own marketplaces, which makes a bit of sense, but it's still greedy and it's still fucked up. So yeah, you definitely don't own your digital content. The fact that these companies can basically control everything if they so desire, yeah, we do not own anything. It's like I was saying earlier, you're not buying your digital games, you're not buying your digital movies, you sure as ain't buying your digital ebooks, because now even fucking books are going digital these days. Everything is going digital these days, and you don't own none of it. Everything is going digital these days. You've got music, you've got books, you've got video games, you've got movies, everything. Everything is going digital, and you don't own none of it. All you are buying is a file that you only own for as long as the companies decide for how long you can own it. That's literally all you're buying. You're just buying access to it. You are just buying access to your digital content. But do you actually own it? Fuck no, you don't. And that's why digital media and digital gaming and digital everything at this point, that's why it's a problem. This is why people are still caring about physical media. This is why physical media is still such an important thing in 2024. And it will continue to be an important thing even in the next coming years. Because digital media is bad. It's not good. There is no ownership with digital media. If these big companies have more control over what we are purchasing with our money, then we never owned it in the first place, if they have all that control over it. I mean, if a company like Disney can literally remove movies out of someone's Amazon Prime library, out of their digital library, just because they decide they don't want their movies sold on Amazon anymore, then that just pretty much proves what I'm saying. Because it just proves to you that these companies, they have control over everything, whether we like it or not. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about, remember when I said that we were going to talk about your accounts and how you think you're always going to own your digital games? On Xbox and on PlayStation and even on Steam, listen, I don't know how Steam works, so correct me if I'm wrong, but on Xbox and PlayStation, perfect example. Let's use Xbox Xbox and PlayStation as an example. Before you can even buy any digital content on an Xbox or a PlayStation, you first must have a Microsoft or a Sony account. Now, this account also does not really belong to you, which is that's quite obvious, okay? None of your digital accounts actually belong to you. The only thing that belongs to you in your digital account is the information that you put in them. Your personal information, that belongs to you. But the actual digital account simply does not belong to you. Because, again, it's digital. Nothing that is digital belongs to us. There is not a single digital thing that belongs to us. Even our fucking digital photos don't even belong to us. When you take a picture and store it in your Google app, or your Google storage, or your Google account, it's not even yours anymore. You may be taking the pictures, but the picture doesn't belong to you because it's digital. Anything that is digital does not belong to you at all. The only thing you have is access to it, but ownership, no. But anyways, as I was saying, your Microsoft account and your Sony account, your Nintendo account, whatever it is, that already doesn't belong to you. But when you make a Microsoft or a Sony account, you can buy digital games, right? And these digital games can only be accessed with your account. If you don't have your account, then obviously you cannot access any of the games that were purchased by your digital account. Now, the thing about Microsoft and Sony is they have a problem, and that problem is called permanent bans. So basically, on Xbox and PlayStation, if you break the rules a certain number of times, then your entire console and your account gets permanently suspended. And basically what a permanent ban means is not only is your account completely suspended, and not only can you not do anything with your account, but your entire console will not even be able to access the internet. So when you get a permanent ban, you lose access to all of your digital content. And the reason for that is because your digital account, your Microsoft account or your Sony account, it can no longer access the internet. You can try and put on another console, you can try and put on a PC, a phone, it doesn't matter. It will not be able to access any kind of internet or connectivity. So basically, what I'm saying is, when your account gets permanently suspended, you lose access to everything, because without the internet, you can't even access your digital files, because obviously it's digital. So when your account gets permanently suspended, not only does your console get permanently suspended, like not only can your console not access the internet anymore, but neither can your account. Like, you may think, well, I'll just take my account, I'll just take my account and I'll just put it on a different console, like a different Xbox or a different PlayStation. It doesn't matter, because the company, Microsoft, Sony, they recognize your account and they know. So even if you put it on a different console, it won't matter. When your account gets permanently suspended, you lose access to everything. Your console can't access the internet, and neither can your permanently suspended account. Now, the reason why this is such a problem is because Microsoft and Sony are literally locking people out of their own purchased digital content, all because of a permanent suspension. Now, look, I understand what you guys are going to say. Well, Mr. Rage, it's part of terms of service. If you break terms of service, then that's what happens. First of all, nobody gives a fuck about some long-ass terms of service. No one even fucking reads that shit, okay? No one cares about a term of service. But even if it did matter, even though these people did break the rules, no one should be locked out of purchased content that they purchased with their money. And this is the second biggest problem with digital gaming. Digital gaming as a whole, actually, because the fact that Microsoft and Sony can literally lock you out of thousands of dollars worth of digital content, quite possibly even more than that, that right there is insane. As a matter of fact, there is actually a user on YouTube who actually talked about how his Xbox account was permanently banned, even though he spent over thousands of dollars on digital games. Over thousands of dollars. All thrown down the fucking drain just because Microsoft permanently suspended his account. Now, this is how it should work instead. Now, usually when somebody gets permanently banned on an Xbox or a PlayStation, usually it's because they kept breaking the rules. Here's what should actually happen when your account gets permanently suspended. Instead of users losing access to all of their digital content, instead, they should simply not be able to make any contact with any other users on Xbox or PlayStation. For example, if your account kept getting suspended because you were trash talking people and being harassing people, stuff like that, then the punishment for a permanent suspension should be you will no longer be allowed to communicate with any other players. You can't send messages, you can't join parties, you can't comment on anything. That should be the punishment if you were banned for harassment. Now, if you were hacking in games and you got banned for it multiple times, then you should no longer be access to play online games. That should be the punishment for it. If you were hacking in your console, if you're trying to jailbreak your console, then your console will get permanently suspended too. If you were trying to jailbreak your console, like your PS5 or something, then your console will no longer be able to access the internet. That should be a punishment for that. Now, no one should ever receive a punishment like losing access to all of their digital games. That is way too much. Listen, I fully agree that if someone keeps breaking the rules, then fine. Permanently suspend them, fine. Go ahead and give them a permanent ban, but no one should lose access to their digital games. The fact that Microsoft and Sony can do this without any repercussion is insane to me, because you are literally taking our money and then taking away the shit that we bought with our money just because of your stupid permanent suspension. That shit is not fair. And it's even worse because sometimes you could get banned on both Xbox and PlayStation for unfair reasons. We all know that the Xbox enforcement system is a joke. People, including myself, get banned unfairly on Xbox all the time, even though we didn't say anything that should have got us suspended. Like, I've said a story a bunch of times, I'll say it again. I was once banned on Xbox because I said the word trash in a kids group post. I didn't even say it in an insulting manner. All I said was the word trash in a comment, and I got suspended over that. And on PlayStation 5, Sony is literally monitoring your voice chats. Like, when you join a party on PlayStation, Sony is literally listening to you. So getting banned on PlayStation and Xbox, sometimes you don't even really deserve it. Sometimes you get banned unfairly. And I understand you could try and make an appeal to Microsoft or Sony, but most time those appeals don't work. Like 98% of the time, they don't work. Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo and Steam, if it works like that on Steam as well, none of these companies should be able to lock you out of your paid for digital content. If you spent your money on something, then you should have more ownership over it. That's how it's worked since the beginning when money was even made. It's worked like that for decades, centuries. The fact that digital content goes against that is insane to me. When we spend our money on things, we are supposed to own it. We're supposed to have a little bit of ownership over it. When it comes to digital gaming, we have none. When it comes to digital everything in general, we have no ownership. We have no ownership over anything that is digital. Literally anything. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the cost. We all know that digital gaming is more expensive than physical gaming. Like, for example, there are old Xbox One and PS4 games on the Xbox and PlayStation Store, obviously, that are still full price, as if they just now came out, even though they came out literally years ago. If you buy those older Xbox One and PS4 games as a physical copy, like from GameStop or Disc Replay or any other little store that sells video game copies, they're dirt cheap. I mean, every single Xbox One and PS4 game is very cheap these days. It's almost as cheap as old Xbox 360 and PS3 games. Like, if you go to a fucking Disc Replay, old Xbox One and PS4 games are dirt cheap. And these same games are still extremely expensive for the digital version. The prices don't ever go down. Sure, they're always having nice little digital sales, but still. And the last thing I want to say is I find it very concerning that a lot of companies are only making digital versions of their games. Like I said, Remedy only making Alan Wake 2 a digital release, that right there pissed me off. And the thing that's fucked up about it is more and more companies will follow in Remedy's footsteps. If a company like Remedy can do it, then every other company will follow. So I don't like the idea of every game, or just most games, having a digital-only release. I mean, we only see that with indie games. Like, most time we only see indie games going for a digital-only release, but a AAA company like Remedy only making a digital release of Alan Wake 2, that right there is very concerning for me. Anyways, that about does it for this discussion video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys stuck by all the way till the end, thank you so much for hearing me ramble about everything. This was definitely a very fun video to make because I have been wanting to talk about this for quite a while now. So I hope you guys definitely enjoyed. I know I definitely did. If you guys stuck by till the end, thank you so very much. I want to make a quick shout out to Platano King, my friend Jake Wolf, B Coker the Gamer 16, VGYN aka Noah, and M64 Bros. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next discussion video. Take care, y'all. Peace.